Hey guys, tonight we begin with a deep dive into the absolute hell of a historical reality nobody romanticizes, despite what the movies tell you. Forget the shimmering gold and the pharaohs with their perfect eyeliner. Forget the grand love story spun from linen and myth. You wouldn't last a day in ancient Egypt, not a single god-forsaken sunrise, let alone be capable of finding anything resembling love. Not when your entire existence is a monument to filth, rot, and the sheer, unadulterated shame of being alive. Tell me, what time is it for you, right now, as you luxuriate in your clean bed, your spotless teeth, and your utterly naive understanding of regret? You wake up, not to the gentle chime of an alarm or the soft filter of morning light through pristine curtains. No, you wake up to the insistent, itchy crawl of a beetle making its way across your cheek, its tiny legs a grotesque dance on your clammy skin. You swat it, of course, a reflex born of endless nights spent battling unseen vermin. It's not just one. There are always more, a veritable army of the chitinous bastards, scuttling through the crust of ancient dirt that perpetually coats your sleeping mat. Your throat feels like sandpaper, every breath a rasp against the dry, stale air, thick with the scent of unwashed bodies, stale cooking fires, and the distant, ever-present effluvium of the city's open sewers. Sound pleasant? Think again. This isn't a dream. It's just Tuesday. Or maybe it's Wednesday. Does it even matter when each day is just a slightly different shade of disgust? The sun, a brutal, unyielding eye, is already pushing its way through the cracks in the mud brick wall, a silent promise of the sweat and pain to come. Your blanket, a coarse, scratchy piece of woven reed, feels like it's silently judging your failure to die in your sleep. It probably is. You groan, a sound more akin to a dying animal than a human being rising from rest. Every joint aches, a dull, insistent throb that started months ago and has since become a permanent resident in your body, a squatter demanding rent in splinter and stiff muscles. Your spine cracks as you push yourself up, a symphony of minor degradations. The room, if you can call it that, a single cramped space you share with your family, is already stifling. The air hangs heavy, humid, and stagnant, promising an unbearable day. There's no privacy here, no quiet corner for introspection. Your siblings are already stirring, their ragged breathing a counterpoint to your own labored gasps. The eldest, a boy barely older than yourself, is coughing, a wet, rattling sound that sends a shiver down your spine. You know what that means. You've seen it before. It's the slow, inevitable creep of the great leveler, the invisible hand that snatches away the weakest, the dirtiest, the most unfortunate among you. There's no doctor, no cure, just the endless, aching wait for the next rattling choke and the grim, quiet despair that follows. And you still haven't brushed your teeth. What teeth, you ask? The ones that are slowly decaying, a mosaic of chipped enamel and blackened gaps, thanks to the grit in your panis rusticus, and the complete absence of anything resembling dental hygiene. Your tongue feels like a furred slug in your mouth, a testament to a night of shallow breathing and endless thirst. Forget minty freshness. Your breath smells like a graveyard, a true reflection of the life you're currently living. The first order of business, the truly pressing, soul-crushing ritual of the morning, is the tersorium. Don't pretend you don't know what that is. It's the communal sponge, soaked in brine or vinegar, passed around for the shared purpose of personal cleansing. After a fashion, you share it. Everyone shares it. Imagine dipping your fingers into a lukewarm bucket of murky water, fishing out a sponge that has seen more unspeakable acts than a battlefield, and then rubbing that thing on your tender bits. Does that sound like the glorious empire of the pharaohs you read about in children's books? This is the reality. This is the ooze of shared humanity, the rot of compromise, the very essence of ancient sanitation. You try not to think about the legions of backsides and orifices that sponge has graced before yours, but the image, a vivid, nauseating tableau, forces its way into your mind. It's a small daily act of surrender, a concession to the relentless filth that pervades every aspect of your existence. You try to rinse your mouth with a mouthful of stale water from the earthen pot, but it only highlights the lingering taste of disgust, Your throat still burns. Your lips are chapped, splitting at the corners. A tiny splinter from the mat catches in your thumb, a minor irritant in a sea of major ones. You pull it out, a minuscule act of rebellion against the constant assault on your body. The sun rises higher, its rays now fully piercing the cramped space, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air like malevolent spirits. Every surface is coated in a fine layer of ochre-colored crust, a testament to the endless wind and the dry, unforgiving landscape. You can feel it on your skin, in your hair, even between your teeth. It's in your very soul. This isn't a quick scrub down. This is a daily battle against the elements, against the very fabric of your environment. And it's a battle you consistently lose. Your skin, perpetually caked with dust and sweat, has long since lost any semblance of softness. It's tough, leathery, scarred from countless nicks, scratches, and insect bites. A particularly angry-looking boil pulsates on your arm, a testament to a minor infection that your body is fighting with a weary, half-hearted defense. You know better than to try to burst it. That's a quick road to a much worse infection, perhaps even the blackening of a limb, the slow, agonizing spread of a rot that would leave you begging for the swift embrace of the crocodiles in the Nile. The air outside your hovel is a symphony of unpleasantries. The bleating of goats, the incessant braying of donkeys, the distant shouts of vendors, and the overwhelming stench of human and animal waste. You step out, blinking against the glare, your eyes gritty and sore. The ground beneath your bare feet is a mixture of packed earth, sharp pebbles, and discarded refuse. There's no gentle grass or soft soil here, only the harsh reality of a life lived on the very edge of subsistence. You pull your tattered tunic closer, a futile attempt at modesty or protection from the encroaching filth. It's already stained, probably beyond redemption, with the accumulated grime of weeks, if not months, of wear. Washing it is a luxury, a laborious task requiring precious water and time, and even then, the sun and dust will quickly reclaim it. This garment, once a simple piece of cloth, has become a second skin, a testament to your endurance, and a canvas for the grim art of your daily disgust. You glance at the nearby Nile, not the shimmering oasis of life you imagine, but a murky, teeming artery of disease, filled with the waste of thousands, yet still the source of all life. A cruel joke, if ever there was one. The river, for all its life-giving properties, is also a source of endless shame. It's where the clothes are rinsed, the bodies are washed, and the waste is dumped. It's a perpetual stew of human existence, a testament to the fact that cleanliness, for most, is a luxury, not a given. You watch a woman downstream, her face grim, scrubbing a stained cloth against a rock. The water around her is cloudy, the air thick with the faint, sickly sweet smell of decomposition. You consider her life, your life, and the vast, unbridgeable chasm between the idealized image of ancient Egypt and the squalid, insect-ridden reality. This isn't a romantic epic. It's a never-ending cycle of coping with filth, sweat, and the bitter taste of regret for every lost moment of comfort. The sun continues its ascent, burning away the morning haze, making the air shimmer with heat. Already, the sweat begins to trickle down your back, a familiar, unwelcome sensation. The day has barely begun, and you're already exhausted, worn down by the sheer effort of simply existing. A dog, a scrawny, mangy creature, limps past, its ribs starkly visible beneath its patchy fur. It roots through a pile of refuse, sniffing, desperate. You recognize that desperation. It's a mirror of your own. The air hums with flies, a persistent, buzzing drone that is the soundtrack to your life. They land on your skin, on your face, crawling across your lips if you're not careful. You wave them away with a flick of your wrist, a gesture born of weary habit, not genuine annoyance. Annoyance is a luxury you can't afford. Resignation is your constant companion. You remember, vaguely, a time when you might have recoiled, might have felt genuine shock at the omnipresent filth. That sensation has long since dulled, replaced by a dull ache of acceptance. This is simply how things are. This is the world. This is your lot. Any other life, any other way of being, is a fantasy, a cruel, mocking whisper of a dream that will never materialize. The sun's heat intensifies, pressing down on you like a physical weight, drawing more sweat from your pores, making your tunic cling uncomfortably to your skin. The crust of dust on your hands feels thicker now, a fine, gritty layer that you can scrape off with your fingernail. It's pointless, of course. It will be back in minutes. Everything here is pointless. Every effort, every struggle, every minor victory is eventually subsumed by the relentless tide of filth, rot, and unceasing disgust. The day stretches before you, a vast, arid landscape of labor and discomfort, and you already feel the weary drag of choke tightening in your chest. You think perhaps of the future, a concept that feels abstract and meaningless in this cycle of immediate, brutal needs. There is no future, only the next breath, the next crust of bread, the next agonizing splinter from a poorly mended tool. Your mind, dulled by exhaustion and the constant sensory assault, struggles to form coherent thoughts beyond the primal ones of survival. The need for water is a constant nagging presence, a burning in your gut that never truly goes away. You'll get a small ration later, probably enough to dampen your thirst but not to truly quench it. It's just enough to keep you going, just enough to keep you in the miserable game, but never enough to feel truly comfortable, truly satiated. It's a calculated deprivation, a way of ensuring your continued subservience. The morning air, initially a brief respite from the stifling indoors, is now turning into a furnace. The sweat on your brow stings your eyes. You rub them, smearing more filth and dust across your face. It's an endless, self-perpetuating cycle of grime and discomfort, and you are trapped within it, a fly in the spiderweb of ancient existence. And the boil on your arm throbs, a tiny, angry reminder of the constant, quiet war your body wages. You can almost feel the ooze beneath the skin. You glance towards the distant, hazy silhouette of the granaries, towering monuments to the stored wealth of the pharaoh and the tireless labor of people like you. They represent sustenance, yes, but also oppression. Every grain inside them is a testament to the sweat of your ancestors, your parents, and your own weary, boil-ridden hands. This panis rusticus that you will break your teeth on later, this pottage that tastes of sorrow and dust, it all comes from that imposing silent behemoth. You feel a familiar pang of resentment, a tiny spark of rebellion that quickly dies under the weight of reality. What good is resentment? It doesn't fill your stomach. It doesn't heal your splinter or soothe the constant ache in your back. It's just another emotion, another burden to carry, and you've already got enough of those. You spit, a dry, bitter gesture, and the saliva mixes with the dust on the ground, creating a tiny, momentary patch of mud that quickly dries to crust. Life is like that here. Brief moments of moisture, quickly evaporated, leaving only more filth and disgust behind. The promise of the day is not one of adventure or joy, but of a slow, steady attrition, a chipping away at your physical and mental resilience. The air is already hot and still, the sun a relentless, unblinking eye in the vast, pale sky. You know this heat, this suffocating embrace. You know it will choke you by midday, leaving you gasping for breath, your head light with dehydration, your muscles screaming in protest. This is the morning, and it only gets worse. The sun begins its slow, brutal ascent in earnest, a merciless orb of fire that promises no respite. The air shimmers above the baked earth, distorting the crude outlines of the other mud-brick dwellings, making the landscape waver like a hallucination. You can already feel the sweat pooling in the small of your back, a river of discomfort already carving its path. The humidity, a constant companion in this life, ensures that nothing ever truly dries. Your tunic clings to your skin, a second layer of disgust, perpetually damp and smelling faintly of mildew and your own weary sweat. The crust of grime under your fingernails feels like it's embedded there, a permanent souvenir of your existence. You try to scratch an insistent itch on your arm, but your fingernails, perpetually broken and short, offer little relief, only spreading the filth further. The boil on your forearm throbs with a dull, insistent ache, a tiny, localized volcano of ooze and potential infection. You ignore it, or try to. There's no point dwelling on minor discomforts, when major ones are lurking around every corner. This is the slow burn accumulation, remember? Every moment adds another layer to the filth, another drop to the sweat, another splinter to the already mangled hands of your existence. You move through your morning, not with purpose, but with a weary resignation, each step a concession to the brutal reality of your surroundings. Your mind, a swirling vortex of exhaustion and basic needs, rarely ventures beyond the immediate. What will you eat? Where will you find clean water? Will the overseer find fault today? These are the grand questions of your life, dwarfing any fleeting thought of romance or a better tomorrow. This is ancient Egypt. This is your regret. And this is just the beginning of the day. The kitchen, a rough-hewn space with an open hearth, is already bustling, though bustling is a generous term for the shuffling, weary movements of your family. The air is thick with smoke, and the pungent aroma of stale grains and simmering pottage, a grayish, unappetizing sludge that passes for breakfast. Your stomach rumbles, a hollow, echoing sound that underscores the persistent ache of hunger. You eye the panis rusticus, the unleavened bread, already hard and riddled with bits of grit from the grinding stones. It's not a meal. It's a necessary, unpleasant intake of calories, just enough to keep you upright for another day of back-breaking labor. You reach for a piece, your fingers, still gritty from the dust of your sleeping mat, brushing against its coarse surface. It feels like eating sand. The crust of dirt on your hands feels like it's a permanent fixture, impossible to truly scrub away. You break off a chunk, the sound a dry crack, and the grit immediately assaults your teeth, a painful reminder of the slow decay that is a constant companion. Your tongue instinctively tries to dislodge the larger pieces of stone, a futile effort. The pottage is served in a communal bowl, a thick, unappetizing stew of lentils, barley, and whatever scraps could be found. It's less a meal and more a punishment, a soupy concoction that smells vaguely of damp earth and boiled desperation. You dip your fingers into the lukewarm mixture, the ooze of it clinging to your skin. It's bland, watery, and utterly devoid of anything resembling flavor, yet you shovel it into your mouth with practiced efficiency. Taste is a luxury. Satiation is the goal. You chew slowly, each bite a battle against the dry bread and the unappetizing pottage, the filth of the common bowl. The knowledge of countless hands that have dipped into it before yours is a constant nagging presence in your mind. But hunger, that ancient, primal urge, overrides all disgust. It always does. This pottage is your fuel, your very lifeblood, even if it tastes like a graveyard stew, a grim testament to the meager offerings of your existence. You feel a tiny, fleeting splinter catch in your throat as you swallow a particularly coarse piece of bread, a reminder of the constant physical assault. You cough, a dry, rasping sound, and the momentary choke of it leaves you gasping. The sun continues its slow climb, baking the mud brick walls, drawing the sweat from your pores even as you sit. The air is already heavy with the promise of midday heat, a suffocating blanket that will soon descend upon the entire settlement. You finish your meager meal, wiping your greasy fingers on your tunic. What else is there? And already feel the familiar gnawing emptiness in your stomach, a hollow pit that no amount of panis rusticus or pottage seems capable of truly filling. It's a physical manifestation of the shame of poverty, the regret of being born into a life where hunger is a constant companion. This isn't just about food. It's about dignity, a concept that feels as abstract and out of reach as the distant constellations. Your body, already weary from the fight against filth, and the ache of your bones, braces for the day's labor. There's no morning coffee, no moment of quiet reflection, no luxurious scroll through your social media feed. There's only the next task, the next agonizing step, the next confrontation with the brutal reality of your daily survival. You rise, your muscles protesting, the boil on your arm throbbing with renewed vigor. The day has officially begun, and it promises nothing but more of the same. The tersorium awaits after a fashion, but the truth is, the filth is everywhere. embedded in the very fabric of your being. The stench hits you first, a pungent, sickening wave of ammonia, stale urine, and something far fouler that you can't quite name. It's the smell of accumulated human waste, of 100 bodies doing their business in a small, enclosed space, day after day, year after year. This is the latrine, the communal pit, the ultimate monument to disgust. You approach it with a grim resolve, your face an impassive mask against the raw assault on your senses. There's no privacy here, no secluded stalls or porcelain thrones, just a series of rough wooden planks laid over a deep trench, often teeming with flies and, if you're unlucky, the occasional rodent. You pick your spot, trying to avoid the dampest, most ooze-filled areas, a futile effort given the pervasive rot of the entire structure. The wood beneath your bare feet is slick with dried crust and something else you don't want to identify. You quickly squat, trying to minimize contact with the filth, but it's an impossible task. The very air you breathe here is thick with it. You clench your teeth, trying to breathe shallowly through your mouth, but the stench still manages to penetrate, coating your tongue with a bitter, acrid taste. This is the daily humiliation, the constant reminder that your most basic bodily functions are performed in public, in a setting that would make a modern sewer worker gag. The flies, fat and sluggish, buzz around your head, occasionally landing on your skin, a tiny, disgusting tickle that you swat away with a grimace. You can feel the sweat trickling down your temples, partly from the heat, partly from the sheer shame and regret of the situation. This is not the clean, dignified existence often depicted in popular fiction. This is the gritty, unsentimental reality of living on the edge of survival, where filth is a constant companion and privacy is a concept too luxurious to contemplate. The tersorium, that communal sponge, is here too, waiting in its murky bucket, a final indignity. You eye it with a mixture of loathing and resignation. There's no escape from its shared grime, no way to truly feel clean in a world where everything is perpetually coated in a fine layer of crust, disgust, and human essence. The act itself is quick, brutal, and without ceremony. You do what you need to do, minimizing your time in the fetid air, trying not to look at the murky depths of the pit below, where untold horrors churn and fester. The sounds around you are equally unappealing. The rustling of other people, the occasional grunt, the distant, sickening splosh. It's a symphony of human degradation, a constant reminder of your own vulnerability and insignificance. You rise, your legs stiff, your body feeling even dirtier than before. The boil on your arm feels particularly sensitive in this environment, as if it, too, is recoiling from the pervasive rot. You grab the tersorium, feeling its soggy, lukewarm mass in your hand. You try not to think about it. Try to detach yourself from the physical reality of what you're doing. But the ooze of it, the slick sensation, is impossible to ignore. You wipe, quickly, perfunctorily, then drop the sponge back into the communal bucket, trying not to think about the next person who will use it, or the last. It's a horrifying, intimate connection with strangers, a shared ritual of filth that binds you to the entire community in a way that no shared feast or religious ceremony ever could. This is the true communal spirit of ancient Egypt, shared disgust. You rinse your hands in a small, perpetually muddy stream of water that trickles from a nearby well, but it's a symbolic gesture at best. The water itself feels greasy, thick with sediment, and leaves your skin feeling slick, not clean. The splinter in your thumb aches with renewed intensity, a tiny, persistent reminder of the constant physical assault. You sigh, a long, weary exhalation that feels less like a breath and more like a surrender. The sunlight outside the latrine, momentarily blinding, seems almost cruel in its brightness, highlighting the lingering traces of filth on your hands, the dust motes dancing in the air, the unyielding reality of your existence. The crust of dirt on your feet feels even thicker now, a permanent covering, a second skin of disgust. You look around at the other people emerging from the latrine, their faces similarly drawn, their eyes holding that same look of weary resignation. There's no eye contact, no shared acknowledgement of the grim ritual you've just endured. just a collective, unspoken understanding that this is the price of living, the daily toll extracted by the very act of being human in this environment. The choke of the stench still lingers in your nostrils, an invisible shroud. The thought of love, of tender moments, of intimacy in this world, seems utterly laughable. How can you connect with another human being on such a profound level when your very existence is defined by filth, by rot, by the constant battle against disgust? Every embrace would be a transfer of grime, every kiss a taste of stale breath and grit. The sheer practicalities of daily life here leave no room for such delicate sentiments. Your entire being is consumed by the relentless grind of survival, by the constant nagging presence of hunger, thirst, and the pervasive shame of your circumstances. Romance is a fragile flower that wilts and dies in the face of such overwhelming squalor. It's a luxury for the pharaohs and their favored few, not for you, the anonymous masses whose lives are defined by the sweat of their brows and the ooze of the communal latrine. You step away from the latrine, the acrid smell slowly fading as you rejoin the stream of people heading towards the fields or workshops. But the memory, the mental image of the filth, the rot, the shame, will linger a bitter aftertaste to your morning. This is not just a place. It is a state of being, a constant assault on your senses and your dignity, and it promises to follow you throughout the entire day. And you know deep down that you will do it all again tomorrow. This is the profound regret of your life, the endless, inescapable repetition of degradation. The boil on your arm suddenly burns with a sharp pain, a tiny personal reminder of the constant physical affronts. The sun, now higher in the sky, is a relentless overseer, beating down with an intensity that promises no mercy. The air is thick, shimmering with heat, and the fine dust that constantly blankets everything rises in small clouds with every shuffling step. Your destination, the fields or perhaps the quarry, or the bustling, chaotic workshops of the city, whatever your lot, it involves labor, ceaseless, back-breaking labor that defines every waking moment. Today, let's say you're a farmer, or perhaps a laborer on one of the grand public works projects, moving stones for a temple or a tomb. The tools are simple, crude, often worn beyond repair. The hoe you wield feels like a dead weight, its wooden handle rough against your already blistered hands. You can feel the first splinter of the day digging into your palm, a minor pain in a symphony of aches. Your tunic is already soaked with sweat, clinging uncomfortably to your skin, chafing in places that will undoubtedly turn raw by day's end. The filth of the earth, rich and black, clings to your feet and legs, a constant, gritty embrace. The rhythm of the work is hypnotic in its monotony. Bend, chop, lift, drag, repeat. The sun beats down on your neck, a steady, oppressive presence that drains your energy with every passing minute. You feel the sweat stinging your eyes, blurring your vision. Your muscles, perpetually sore, scream in protest with every movement. There's no respite, no moment to catch your breath. The overseer's whip is a constant threat, its cracking sound a grim punctuation to the rhythmic grunts and groans of the other laborers. You work in silence, or near silence. The only sounds the scrape of tools against earth, the heavy breathing of exhausted men, and the distant, mocking cries of birds. The crust of dried mud and dust forms on your skin, a permanent layer, a second epidermis of disgust. You wipe a hand across your brow, and the gritty filth smudges across your face, a permanent mask of degradation. This isn't just work. It's a slow, deliberate form of self-annihilation, a daily chipping away at your body and spirit. The boil on your arm, forgotten for a brief moment, throbs with renewed intensity, a sharp, localized pain that reminds you of your body's constant battle against infection. You wonder if it will burst today, if the ooze will finally emerge, bringing a momentary, painful relief. The air is thick with dust, rising in choking clouds with every movement. You inhale it, feel it coating your throat, your lungs. It's a constant, irritating presence, a slow, deliberate choke. You cough, a dry, hacking sound that offers no relief, only exacerbates the burning sensation in your chest. This dust is part of you now, embedded in your very being, a grim souvenir of your laborious existence. Your vision blurs, not just from the sweat and dust, but from the sheer exhaustion. You push past the dizziness, the nausea, the overwhelming urge to simply lie down in the filth and give up. Giving up isn't an option. There's no safety net, no welfare, no compassionate embrace. There's only the relentless grind and the slow, inevitable decline. Every day is a test of endurance, a testament to the fact that the human body can withstand an unimaginable amount of punishment before it finally, mercifully gives in. You think, briefly, of the grandeur of the pharaohs, the majestic temples being built with your blood and sweat. Do they ever consider the lives of those who build their eternal monuments? Do they ever feel a pang of regret for the shame they inflict upon their populace? Probably not. They live in a different world, a world of perfumed halls and clean linens, a world utterly devoid of disgust. The sun reaches its zenith, beating down with a blinding ferocity that makes the ground itself seem to radiate heat. The air shimmers, distorting the horizon, making the palm trees in the distance seem like wavering specters. Your mouth is a desert, your tongue swollen and rough against your palate. You yearn for water, a deep, agonizing thirst that consumes your every thought. The small water skins, passed around sparingly by the overseers, offer only a fleeting moment of relief, a mere dampening of the fire in your gut. It's never enough. The thirst is a constant companion, a physical manifestation of your perpetual state of deprivation. You pause for a moment, wiping your brow with a hand that is a mosaic of filth, crust, and calluses. Your reflection, if you were to see it, would be unrecognizable. A gaunt, hollow-eyed figure, covered in sweat and grime, a stark embodiment of disgust. The splinter in your palm is now a throbbing ache, the boil on your arm a dull, persistent pain. These are not just physical ailments. They are markers of your existence, badges of honor in a world that offers none. The rhythmic thud of your tools, the scrape of earth, the grunt of your fellow laborers. These are the sounds of your life. There's no music, no laughter, no frivolous chatter, only the grim, purposeful sounds of survival. You watch the others, their faces similarly etched with exhaustion and resignation. There's a shared understanding, a silent bond forged in the crucible of filth and sweat. But it's not a bond of affection or friendship. It's a bond of shared suffering, a collective shame that binds you all. You wouldn't confess your deepest regret to these people because they are too busy dealing with their own. There's no room for emotional vulnerability here, only for the brutal realities of daily existence. The sun begins its slow descent, but the heat lingers, oppressive and unrelenting. Your body feels like a sack of broken bones, every muscle screaming in protest. The choke of dust in your lungs feels heavier now, a permanent weight that makes every breath an effort. The ooze of sweat continues to trickle down your back, a constant reminder of the physical toll of your labor. You see a small, green patch of something growing near the edge of the field, a tiny splash of color in the arid landscape. It's a momentary distraction, a fleeting glimpse of something alive and vibrant in a world defined by rot and decay. You look away, forcing your mind back to the task at hand. Such distractions are dangerous. They invite hope, and hope, here, is a cruel joke, a seductive lie that leads only to deeper regret. Better to remain numb, to embrace the disgust, to accept the filth as your natural state. The splinter feels like it's driving deeper into your palm. The boil throbs, a tiny, angry drumbeat against the steady rhythm of your pain. You think, briefly, of the mythical gardens of the gods, the lush oases depicted in the temples. They are a cruel contrast to the reality you inhabit, a mockery of your parched existence. Your tongue feels thick, your lips cracked and bleeding. The crust of dried mud on your face is now so thick it feels like a mask. You keep working, one foot in front of the other, one swing of the hoe after another, until the overseer's whistle finally pierces the oppressive silence, signaling a brief, agonizing reprieve. But it's not truly a reprieve. It's just a pause in the endless cycle of filth, sweat, and shame. This is the midday. and the only certainty is that the afternoon will be worse. The midday break is less a reprieve and more a shift in the nature of your suffering. The sun, now a relentless white orb directly overhead, beats down with a ferocity that makes the air shimmer like a mirage. There's no shade, no cool breeze, only the suffocating embrace of the heat. You collapse onto the baked earth, your limbs trembling, your muscles screaming in protest. The ground beneath you radiates heat, a searing embrace that offers no comfort. Your tunic is plastered to your skin, a sodden, sweat-soaked second skin that reeks of mildew and your own exhaustion. The filth of the earth, fine and gritty, clings to every exposed surface of your body, creating a fine crust that prickles and itches. You close your eyes, but the sun's glare still penetrates your eyelids, creating a blinding red wash behind them. The thirst is a gnawing beast in your gut, a fire that consumes your every thought. You know that to drink too much of the communal water, even if it were available, would only lead to stomach cramps, to the dreaded ooze of dysentery that claims so many lives. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario, a constant negotiation with illness and discomfort. The air is thick with flies, buzzing incessantly, landing on your face, your lips, your arms. They are attracted to the sweat, to the lingering odors of disgust and rot that cling to your body. You swat them away with a weary hand, a futile gesture against their sheer numbers. They are a constant, irritating presence, a living embodiment of the pervasive filth that defines your existence. You try to snatch a few moments of sleep, but the heat, the flies, and the constant ache in your limbs make it impossible. Your mind, dulled by exhaustion, drifts in and out of a semi-conscious stupor, filled with fragmented images of toil and pain. You see the splinter that still digs into your palm, a tiny, localized tormentor. You feel the boil on your arm throbbing, a persistent reminder of your body's constant struggle against infection. There's no escape from the physical realities of your existence, not even in the brief, stolen moments of rest. The sun continues to bake the earth, drawing out the last vestiges of moisture, leaving everything parched and brittle. The choke of dust in your lungs feels heavier now, a thick, suffocating presence that makes every breath a labor. You watch your fellow laborers, their faces grim, their bodies slumped in postures of utter defeat. Some are trying to eat a small portion of panis rusticus, gnawing on the dry, gritty bread with a grim determination. The sounds of chewing are punctuated by coughs and the occasional retch from someone overcome by the heat and the stench. There's no camaraderie, no shared jokes, no light-hearted banter, just a heavy, oppressive silence, broken only by the sounds of suffering. This is the shame of collective endurance, a shared regret that no words can articulate. What is there to say? Every day is the same, an endless cycle of filth, sweat, and pain. There's no hope for a better tomorrow, only the stark reality of the present. Any fleeting thought of intimacy, of tenderness, of finding solace in another human being, seems ludicrous in this setting. Who would willingly bring another person into this life of unrelenting disgust? Who would share this rot and decay with someone they claim to care for? The brief respite comes to an end as the overseer's whistle shrills, a harsh, unwelcome sound that tears through the oppressive stillness. You groan, a sound of profound regret, and slowly push yourself up, your muscles stiff and protesting. The thought of returning to the relentless labor under the brutal sun is almost unbearable, yet you know you have no choice. Your body is a machine, programmed for work, fueled by meager rations, and driven by the constant threat of the whip. The crust of dried sweat and filth on your skin feels tighter now, pulling at your pores, a physical manifestation of your entrapment. The ooze of your own desperation is palpable. The splinter feels like it's driving deeper into your hand. The boil pulses with a malevolent energy. You force yourself to stand, to take the first agonizing step back towards the fields, back towards the endless cycle of disgust and degradation. The choke of the dust and heat immediately assails your lungs, a brutal reminder of the world you inhabit. The afternoon stretch of labor is worse than the morning, if such a thing is possible. The sun, though past its peak, still holds a brutal intensity, and the air is now like a furnace, thick and heavy, making every breath a shallow gasp. The sweat pours off you in rivulets, a constant stream of discomfort that wets your tunic and makes it cling to your skin like a shroud. Your body, already exhausted from the morning's efforts, feels like it's operating on pure will, a fragile thread stretched to its breaking point. Every swing of the hoe, every lift of a heavy stone is an act of supreme effort, a grim battle against the overwhelming fatigue that threatens to pull you down into the filth of the earth. The crust of dried mud and sweat on your skin is now so thick it feels like a second rough hide. You can almost feel the ooze of dehydration, the slow draining of your life force. Your throat is raw, your mouth a perpetually dry desert. The splinter in your palm has become a hot, insistent needle, its pain a constant, nagging presence. The boil on your arm, once a dull ache, is now a sharp, throbbing reminder of your body's failing defenses. The dust is everywhere, a fine, omnipresent filth that coats your tongue, grinds in your teeth, and irritates your eyes. You cough, a deep, rattling sound that brings no relief, only exacerbates the burning in your lungs. This choke of dust is a constant companion, a slow, insidious poison that permeates your very being. You move through your tasks in a haze of pain and exhaustion, your mind barely registering the world around you. There's no time for thought, no capacity for reflection, only the relentless, monotonous rhythm of the work, punctuated by the sharp crack of the overseer's whip against a lagging laborer, a sound that sends a jolt of fear through your already frayed nerves. The shame of weakness, the fear of punishment. These are the drivers now. The regret of being alive, of continuing to endure this suffering, weighs heavy on your spirit. You see the skeletal frames of your fellow workers, their faces gaunt, their eyes hollow, mirroring your own profound disgust. They are not companions in shared struggle, but rather fellow inmates in a prison of sweat and pain. The sun begins its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and red, a beautiful mockery of your suffering. It's a cruel irony, this magnificent display of nature's artistry, set against the backdrop of human degradation. You want to scream, to lash out at the injustice, but the energy for such defiance has long since been drained from your body. All that remains is a dull, aching resignation. The filth under your fingernails feels like it's permanently embedded, a grim reminder of the day's ceaseless toil. The rot of decay, of the very earth around you, seems to seep into your bones, a chilling promise of your own inevitable end. Your vision blurs with sweat and fatigue, making the world waver and shift around you. You press on, one agonizing step after another, one more swing of the hoe, one more lift of the stone. The overseer's whistle finally pierces the air, shrill and unwelcome, signaling the end of the workday. But it's not relief you feel, only a deep, bone-weary exhaustion that promises no true rest. As you join the slow, shuffling procession back to the settlement, the cool of the evening brings little comfort. The air is still heavy with dust, and the lingering scent of sweat and unwashed bodies. Your legs feel like lead, your feet raw and blistered from the unforgiving terrain. Every muscle screams in protest, a chorus of pain that makes your teeth ache. The splinter in your palm has festered into a dull, persistent throbbing, a tiny hot coal in your hand. The boil on your arm has grown, its ooze threatening to burst through the stretched skin, a grotesque, angry red beacon on your arm. You try to ignore it, as you ignore most things that cause you pain, but it's a relentless reminder of your body's constant struggle against the forces of decay. The filth of the day, accumulated on your skin, in your hair, even in your mouth, feels like a second skin, a crust that you can almost taste. The disgust is so profound it's almost a physical presence, a bitter taste in your mouth. You cough, a dry, harsh sound that brings up more dust, more of that slow, insidious choke. You pass by the refuse heaps that line the outskirts of the settlement, mounds of discarded pottery shards, animal bones, and unidentifiable organic matter, all left to rot in the open air. The stench is overpowering, a sickening miasma that makes your stomach churn. You avert your gaze, but the image, the smell, is burned into your memory, another vivid snapshot of the squalor that surrounds you. There's no beauty here, no romance, only the stark, brutal reality of daily life, where survival means embracing filth and enduring disgust. The sun finally dips below the horizon, painting the sky in a final, defiant flourish of purples and deep oranges. But it's a show for no one. You're too tired, too weary to appreciate it. Your mind is already turning to the next challenge. Finding a meager meal, finding a spot to collapse, finding a moment of silence before the inevitable return of the filth-ridden dawn. The shame of your circumstances, the regret of a life unlived, presses down on you with a suffocating weight. This journey home is not a return to comfort, but a transition from one form of suffering to another, a brief, agonizing pause before the next cycle of pain begins. And you know, with a chilling certainty, that this cycle will only end with your own quiet choke and eventual rot. The evening meal, if you're fortunate enough to have one, is usually a repeat performance of the morning's grim culinary offerings. More panis rusticus, dry and gritty, and more pottage, thin and unappetizing. Your hunger, though dulled by exhaustion, is still a constant companion, a hollow ache in your gut that no amount of this meager fare seems capable of truly satisfying. You sit with your family, hunched over the communal bowl, the silence punctuated only by the sounds of chewing and the occasional weary sigh. There's no conversation, no sharing of the day's events. What is there to say? Every day is the same, an endless cycle of filth, sweat, and the gnawing disgust of existence. Your hands, caked with the crust of dried mud and sweat, feel stiff and sore as you break off another piece of bread. The splinter in your palm sends a sharp jab of pain up your arm, a tiny, localized tormentor that adds to the symphony of aches that is your body. The boil on your arm throbs, a persistent reminder of your body's failing defenses, a grotesque, angry beacon on your arm. You chew slowly, the grit in the bread assaulting your teeth, a familiar, painful sensation. The pottage, a thin, watery gruel, offers little comfort. It slides down your throat, bringing with it a vague, unsettling taste of decay, of the underlying rot that seems to permeate everything. This is not sustenance for joy, but merely for survival, just enough to keep the machine running, to ensure you wake up tomorrow to face another day of shame and regret. You finish your portion quickly, wiping your greasy fingers on your tunic, which is by now a grotesque tapestry of stains and grime. There's no desire for more, only a profound weariness that settles deep in your bones. Your body aches from head to toe, a relentless, pervasive pain that no amount of rest seems to alleviate. Your legs throb, your back protests, and your hands, raw and calloused, sting with every movement. The ooze of exhaustion is palpable, a heavy cloak draped over your entire being. The air inside the cramped hovel is thick with the accumulated smells of the day: sweat, stale food, and the faint, ever-present scent of human waste from the nearby latrines. The choke of the dust, stirred up by the day's activities, still lingers, making every breath a shallow effort. You can feel the filth on your skin, a gritty, irritating layer that you long to escape, but there's no escape. The Nile, shimmering under the distant stars, offers no true cleanliness, only a different kind of disgust, a stew of effluent and disease. The very act of eating, of providing for your body, feels like a grim obligation rather than a source of pleasure. There's no anticipation, no enjoyment, only the hollow satisfaction of having postponed the inevitable gnawing of hunger for a few more hours. You glance at your family, their faces drawn, their eyes heavy with the same weary resignation that mirrors your own. There's a silent, unspoken understanding among you, a shared burden of shame and enduring disgust. But it's not a comforting bond. It's a collective descent into the abyss of relentless reality. The sun has long since set, plunging the world into a deep, velvety darkness broken only by the distant flicker of oil lamps and the pale glow of the moon. The sounds of the settlement have slowly faded, replaced by the chirping of insects, the rustling of unseen creatures, and the occasional mournful cry of a distant animal. You lie on your sleeping mat, the rough reeds digging into your aching body, a constant reminder of the hard reality of your existence. Your tunic, still damp with sweat and caked with the crust of the day's filth, feels like a second skin, a testament to your unceasing degradation. Every muscle in your body screams in protest, a symphony of minor pains that coalesce into a pervasive, throbbing ache. The splinter in your palm is a hot coal, radiating a dull, persistent pain. The boil on your arm, now swollen and tender, pulses with a life of its own, threatening to burst and release its grotesque ooze. Your mind, though dulled by exhaustion, cannot fully escape the day's horrors. You replay snippets: the relentless sun, the crack of the overseer's whip, the stench of the latrine, the gritty taste of the panis rusticus. These are the indelible marks of your existence, etched into your memory with the acid of disgust and shame. You try to find a comfortable position, but there is none. Every shift brings a new protest from your joints, a fresh stab of pain from your bruised muscles. The cool night air offers little solace. It merely adds another layer of discomfort, a chill that seeps into your bones. You pull your thin blanket closer, but it offers little warmth, only a flimsy barrier against the world's indifference. The sounds of the night are not comforting. You hear the scuttling of mice in the corners, the distant howl of a jackal, and the unsettling silence that sometimes descends, a silence that speaks of lurking dangers and the ever-present threat of rot and decay. Sleep, when it finally comes, is not a deep restorative embrace, but a fitful, shallow oblivion, punctuated by tossing and turning, by the insistent aches and pains that refuse to be silenced. You dream, not of pleasure or escape, but of the relentless choke of dust, the burning sweat of labor, and the pervasive filth that clings to every aspect of your being. There's no romance here, no happy ending to anticipate. The concept of falling in love in this life is utterly ludicrous. Who would you love? Another weary soul, similarly beaten down by the relentless grind, their body a map of scars and their spirit a repository of regret? What solace could you offer each other beyond a shared grimace, a silent acknowledgement of the brutal reality? Intimacy in this world would be a collision of filth and exhaustion, a desperate attempt to find warmth in a world that offers none, only to be met with the persistent disgust of shared suffering. The darkness presses in, a heavy, suffocating blanket that offers no comfort. You are just a body, a vessel for endless labor and unceasing pain, a statistic in the vast, anonymous tapestry of ancient life. The stars, a million distant pinpricks of light, seem to mock your insignificance, your quiet desperation. Your shame is not personal. It is collective, a shared burden of existence in a world that values grand monuments more than human dignity. The boil on your arm continues to throb, a constant, physical reminder of the precariousness of your health, of the constant threat of infection and disease that hovers like a hungry vulture. You can almost feel the ooze waiting to burst forth. The splinter is a tiny, agonizing needle, never quite dislodged. You turn over, seeking a sliver of comfort, but it's a futile quest. There's no comfort to be found, not truly. Only endurance, only the stark reality of survival. You close your eyes, forcing yourself towards that shallow sleep, knowing that in a few short hours the sun will rise again, bringing with it the relentless sweat, the pervasive filth, and the unyielding disgust of another day. The cycle will begin anew, without fanfare, without hope. There is no triumph here, only the grim satisfaction of having survived another 24 hours, another step closer to the inevitable final choke. This is the life you inherited, the life you are trapped in, and the only true regret is that you keep waking up to it. This is not a love story. This is a story of filth, rot, shame, and the bleak, ironic endurance of a life stripped bare of all illusion, leaving only the raw, unadorned reality of existence in ancient Egypt. And it's going to be just as miserable tomorrow. Good night.